Hi, welcome to Max Gamers, and today we'll be looking at the deadliest SAM site in the game, the S-300 site. We're going to be going against a worst case scenario of all kinds of anti-air units. This SAM site in particular is going to consist of BMPs, Tunguskas, manpads, an early warning radar system, which will be able to detect us up to 200 miles away, the Su25T Tor, which can intercept missiles in flight, the Su25T Shilka guided AAA. This is what the tracking radar looks like for the S-300 system. This is a low altitude search radar, which should be able to spot us even if we fly in really low. And this is the long range search radar. This is what one of the launch vehicles looks like, but these are not going to be priority targets since they don't have any way to guide missiles on their own. Our only targets of concern during this raid are going to be the tracking and search radars. Our plan to attack this site involves flying in extremely low to avoid detection by the tracking radar for the S-300 site, which should prevent them from launching any missiles at us until we get within minimum range, at which point we'll be able to pop up and fire missiles and rockets safely. We are going to be using both the KH-58 and the KH-25 MPU anti-radiation missiles, and as a backup we're bringing along 2 rocket pods filled with S-5 unguided fragmentation rockets. On the wingtips of our aircraft we're also going to bring electronic countermeasure jamming pods to try to prevent the missiles from tracking us at long distances. Immediately you can see we're already being acquired by the enemy search radar, and soon you'll hear the tracking tone from the track radar. There it is. We're going to employ electronic countermeasures, which briefly disables the track, but it immediately comes through. It's now fired a missile at us, but that's okay because we have lots of small hills between us and the SAM site, and the lower we get to the ground, the better our chances are of losing line of sight with that track radar. Ahead we can see a smoke trail of a missile that's already been fired, but this trail has terminated, showing us that the missile is no longer in flight, and our radar warning receiver is not giving us any warnings either. So that means for now we are safe. Our main defense is going to be extreme low-level flight. Nap of the earth flight is another term for this, where we are literally going to be flying between trees and buildings just at the height of power lines so that we can see the grass only feet or meters above the surface. One way to instantly tell whether or not the track radar is able to have line of sight of us is when we are in this anti-radiation interface. Right now we've just locked the S10 radar signature, which is the tracking radar. Be very careful not to drop large weapons or bombs when you're flying this close to the ground, because doing so can damage your aircraft, as you are about to see in a moment. Here we are dropping one, and there is the blowback from that missile that we just dropped underneath our aircraft. We're going to try to reacquire our target now, but all of the signatures have disappeared, which is probably because we are within minimum range of either the ELINT pod underneath our aircraft or the radar site itself. And this is why we switch over to our backup option, the unguided rockets, and just rain down on all targets that we can see. Honestly, it is a miracle that not a single one of the other enemies were able to damage our aircraft as we make our escape. Typically, this strategy that you've just witnessed here of using unguided rockets is highly unconventional and extremely risky, and definitely not advised, unless it is an absolute last resort, like a weapons malfunction that you just witnessed. Next, we're going to show a replay of what happened, but from the SAM site's perspective. Here is a second attempt at this attack run, except this time we do not damage our aircraft by dropping weapons too close to the ground. When we lock onto a radiation source using our ELIT pod under the aircraft, we can see its distance. The ideal distance for weapons release using these anti-radiation missiles is just under 10 kilometers. To be extra safe, we're going to launch every single missile we have at that tracking radar, just to make sure there's no possible way it can launch any more missiles at us. This lock tone tells us that there is still an enemy missile launching unit active, and because it is giving us a lock tone, that means it has a tracking radar, and the only unit there with a tracking radar is the SA-15 Tor. And because of our distance and our speed, we should be able to outrun this missile. We successfully outrun the missile, as seen by that black puff of smoke, and we now escape with no more fire coming from those S-300 launchers.